Hey, how we doing, Scott?
Good. How you doing, Patrick?
Doing good, my friend. Doing good. We made it to Friday. Hey,
We made it.
Hi, I
awesome.
don't know if you can hear me.
Hey there. Nice.
Danielle,
Hey, Danielle. It's great to hear your voice. How are you?
I am good. For some reason, I don't have audio. I'm on my phone, but I should say I don't have video, I have audio.
Okay. It might be if you click on your phone, there should be right by the mute button on the bottom left. Right next to it is the video.
And it says I'm unable to access the camera.
I don't know.
I don't need, I can
Not
see
sure.
you.
I see Debbie Connor on there.
Hello. Jamie Goldman.
There
Scott
she is. Hey,
here.
Jamie.
Hello there.
Hello.
How was the USF block party? Jamie,
Say again? I missed you. Sorry.
how was the USF block party?
Oh, it was super fun. I posted a video on my Facebook page,
Ah, cool. I'll have to check that out.
and then I did torment Dennis Solo a little bit.
Yes, she did.
Good.
Did he respond?
Good.
He did.
Ah,
Yeah, super fun. It was. You know what? It was a nice something different. So good. Nice
Was
little
that game being
well, technology.
broadcast online on TV, or did you guys pull it up on YouTube?
So we pulled the game up on YouTube, and then
Okay.
we were on. Oh my gosh, we used Google Hangouts.
Okay,
So that we could all kind of sit and watch each other and talk through the game. So it was fun.
that's
Awesome.
cool.
Yeah, something different.
Awesome. Well, welcome, Freddie. Nice to see you on here, my friend. And let's get started. It's 12:30, and our appointment's at 12:30. So let's get going here. We're going to take the same type of format as we did in shift tactic number 1. Today's topic is going to be number 2 is remargin your business. So expense management, which, gosh, look at our timing right now, right? This is one of the fastest ways, if not the fastest way, to increase your income is really monitoring your expenses. So, when I say that, remargining your business, expense management, how does that make you feel? What are you thinking right now?
So right now it all makes sense. And I think the first time we met on Monday, I had shared that I've done this Shift Book Club with you before.
Yes.
But it was quite a while ago. And quite honestly, a lot of the material just wasn't really relevant to the time. And now it is. So I think that, now I'm not cringing as much or like blowing it off. Now it makes sense.
Got it. Okay. Awesome. Love hearing that. Thank you, Jamie. What's something else? What is remargining your business? How does that, expense management? Scott, how does that make you feel? I know you're a numbers guy, right? I'll
be honest. I don't spend a lot of money on business. I mean, I've got a lot of fees and things that, I don't think I can cut a whole lot, but what I do feel like is going forward, I feel like I need to make very certain that before I spend money, that it's going to bring in money. And I'm actually thinking about putting more money than I have before into some lead generation advertising and things, but it's very, very purposeful and only because I think there's an opportunity there that needs to be, that I could fill.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and the key is going to be, are we tracking every single dollar we're spending? Every single dollar. And is it a need or a want? If it's a want, cut it. If it's a need, then really analyze it. So Scott, I think you're on board with that. It's something where we talked about it earlier in the week. A topic that's going around all through the industry right now is cut 20% of your expenses. Now, when I say that, how does that make you feel? Cut 20%. Like if you were to take 20% right off the top.
well, I think there's a big difference between, you have to know the difference between an expense and an investment. And what Scott was just talking about was investing in his business, not spending money in his business, but investing money in his business. And those are two different things, right? Spending versus investing. So it's like coaching, is an investment in you. It's an investment in your skills. It's not an expense. Going out to lunch, all by yourself is an expense. If you're going out to meet with someone else where you're helping them grow and pouring into them, I think that's more of an investment. I think you have to know the difference between the two. Is that dollar that you're going to spend or invest going to bring back $2 to $3 in return?
Right, absolutely. Well, and here's an equation to write down. It's a real estate equation. 30-30-40. 30-30-40. So who's familiar with this term? Because this has just started coming out here in the last little bit. Okay, Scott, do you want to explain that for me? What does 30-30-40 mean?
Okay, I'm guessing here, but I believe, oh shoot, one of them's profit, one of them's expenses, and one of them's, I don't want to answer all for everybody. I want to leave a.
So if you were going to look at this 30-30-40 and you're on the right track, we're missing one. What do you think we're missing out of that? And this is for everyone, not just Scott.
I like watching him squirm.
Right?
So we have profit, expenses, and margin.
You're close, Freddie. You're close. It's actually what it is. It's cost of sales, expenses, and profit. So 30% cost of sales, 30% expense, 30% profit. The reason that's or 40% profit, sorry, 30-30-40. So the reason that's important is kind of what Debbie was just talking about. If you're looking at coaching, is that a cost of sale or an expense? Live question. Any answer is a good one, right?
That's an expense.
Okay, so it's an expense to do coaching. What is your cap then, Scott? Is your cap an expense or a cost of sale?
Well,
Somebody
I guess
help them out.
Yeah. I mean, it comes out of your commission. I mean, yeah, I'll go cost of sale.
Yep, and you're correct.
Yeah.
So awesome job. So your cap, and Freddie, I believe you're on a cap platform as well, is a cost of sale, right? So there's not going to be much that changes in a cost of sale. Now, if it was a pure expense would be Boomtown. It would be diving in and figuring out what are the different angles that we're spending on, not technology, right? Marketing, all the way across. Marketing versus prospecting. One of the things we like to talk about with expense management is being prospecting focused, prospecting based, and marketing enhanced. Why do you think it's not flipped the other way? Isn't this fun, guys? So if we're prospecting focused and marketing enhanced, why do you think it's prospecting first?
You've got to find what works. You've got to have the business, and then you find something that works and you enhance it with marketing. You say, if I put money into this, I know the result, versus if you just advertise, if you just spend all kinds of money putting your name on grocery carts and billboards and this and that without any plan, you're just throwing money. I mean, you don't know where the return's going to be.
Right. You're absolutely right. What are some other thoughts on that?
So the prospecting piece is just being proactive, whereas the marketing, if someone gets back to you about something you sent out, you're being reactive to that.
Ooh, I like that. If I had an apple right now, I would be virtually giving you that, Jamie. That was awesome.
Gold star.
I know we got the gold star, the digital gold star. I'll just draw it. So, and you're right. Actually, you're completely right. So, how much does it cost us? I mean, actual dollar amounts to pick up the phone and start calling our database. How much does it cost us? 0, right? Now, is that marketing or prospecting?
Prospect.
Prospecting, absolutely. So one of the kisses of death that happens, and it's an interesting conversation. I just came off of a call, and one of the kisses of death that happens is that when in a market shift, instead of tightening the belt and tightening those expenses and cutting those expenses, is adding on expenses without knowing what the ROI is going to be. So if you're looking at online leads, what is your ROI? How much are you paying per lead, and is that effective? Is it a 1 to 3% conversion? Is it not converting? Do we have all these leads and we need to figure out a conversion issue, right? There's hey Jody, there's a conversation around that really ties in. If you looked at, here's something for you. How many of us were in the market 10 years ago? 10 years ago. Okay, so, right, Jody, Rhonda, so, and Deb, was the market different 10 years ago? How? How was the market different from today? If you're talking, you gotta hit that mute button there.
Unmute.
Unmute.
Very little technology.
Ah, you're right. 10 years ago, it was very little technology, right? We had a conversation earlier on a regional call with all of the KW offices in Colorado. And the conversation was, for most that are doing up to 5 million in production, the business environment that we have today is almost like being a brand new agent. And I mean that with, and I don't mean that as demotivating at all. I really don't. What everybody right now is on a level playing field. The key is going to be is what are the silver linings from those who have experienced the market 10 years ago? Because part of that was the whole intention of writing this book, right? Expense management. And it says, you know, it is not necessary to change. Survival is not mandatory. So the key right now is how do you go from survival into survive to thrive, right? Is it the models, the systems, the people? Is it the leverage? How are you working your expenses? One of the things that we did, you know, and I'll just share this example. You know, I could not afford at the time to have a full-time admin paying $45,000 a year, $50,000 a year. So instead, I leveraged that out through a virtual assistant. That was 10 years ago. So my question would be is how are you able to structure and run your business and not take the 80% that's non-income producing so that you still stay focused on your 20%, because now is more important than ever to be focused around the 20%. So what would be some strategies that you could use that you could leverage out?
Well, one is do more work yourself.
Okay.
You know, to cut expenses, you know, if you're able to do that, and I do understand, I can relate with Scott because I'm pretty lean on my expenses, but there's always somewhere to cut back on a little bit to get more wiggle room there. But not so much, you know, I mean, I guess simple stuff like making coffee at home instead of Starbucks. But as far as your business expenses, I think it's more like, well, you know, how much is, or find a lower provider, lower price provider. You can look at your phone expenses, you know, and any other apps that you're not using that maybe charge you a couple months, you know, some money, or even your CRM. Is there a leaner way to CRM?
Absolutely, Freddie. You know, Peter Drucker is famous for teaching this very straightforward point. You can't build a business by cutting back, but you can find profit and save it. So are we truly analyzing and I'll say it again, are we analyzing every dollar that we're spending? Every dollar, business, personal right now. And what are we expecting as an ROI? If I invest $1, what should I be expecting as the return? And all of us may have different answers to that, right? And are we keeping a formula where we know what to expect? So is it the magazine ads, right? That was 10 years ago. Magazine ads, all of that. I can tell you how many deals I've had come from magazine ads after spending tens of, I don't even know how much. It makes me sick, right? Like at least 15,000, that much. It was great for my builder. I know, Jamie, seriously. It was great for my builder and it was great for my ego, but it killed my pocketbook, killed it.
Mhm.
Right? And that was a big piece that we were seeing 10 years ago. So now it's in the digital world, right? And profit can act like a financial pillow and become a mental cushion, or like a financial sofa inviting you to take a mental nap. But the truth is that there is never a good time to nod off and violate the fundamentals of finance. So what do you think some of those fundamentals of finance would be?
Lead with revenue. But it's what Gary preaches, is what we preach. I mean, there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4 of you sitting on here that's been through productivity coaching with me. And the very first thing is you can't write a check unless you come sell it to me first. And we know that it's going to make you at least 3 to 4 times back, right? You guys remember that? So leading with revenue. If it's not coming in, it can't go out.
That's a powerful, powerful message. You know, I just came across a quote here from Pat Hibben out of Maryland. It said a boom market, which, would you say that Denver was in a boom market for the last several years, right? I would call that a boom market. 20 offers at one property, no matter what the price point. I would say that's a boom market. A boom market can cloud your financial vision and mask, among other things, poor expense control, right? Because before it was, hey, if you do this, if you spend $5,000 with me, if you spend $5,000 with me, then I guarantee that you'll get one deal out of it per month, right? Well, gosh, start adding that up. Not on a monthly basis. What's that look like per year? Now we're talking $60,000, right? $60,000 for 12 deals. Does that math, and it's up to you, this is your business, right? We're here to guide you and support you. And does that math work? 60,000 for 12 deals. Would any of us join another company? Here's a question. Would any of us join another company with a $60,000 individual cap? I wouldn't, personally. Right? So then that's what I mean, is when there's different platforms like that, we're seeing a lot of movement going on right now with Zillow being out, Redfin being out, Opendoor being out, right? Zillow cutting their prices by half for Premier Agent because they know what's happening, right? These CEOs understand what's happening. It's the reason why Gary Keller has cut MAPS coaching in half for current clients until June 1st, yet he's still paying the coaches. So a key piece around this is, and Freddie, you had talked about this, Scott, you had talked about this, protecting your margin. There is no expense that's untouchable. Every single expense that you have, all the way down to the coffee, all the way down to the minutia, the pens that we're buying, all the way down to that. Are we analyzing everything? Because if we're not, then that could be an opportunity to really start saving on this side, because every time the market shifts, it pendulums, right? And we are in a market shift. So we're over here right now and we're starting to swing. The key around this is with expense management, growth of the business, with coaching that's going on, taking advantage of things that aren't of a cost, that don't have a cost associated, right? Leaning on the experience of others will cause your business to compound successfully to where you come out of a market shift and now you have incredible opportunities. And then we talked about this earlier in the week. Ben Kenny, right, was a door-to-door salesperson. Door-to-door. He now runs one of the largest expansion teams in Keller Williams, and they closed over 2,000 units last year. How did he do that? I know Ben, and it was a conversation that we had. He knows how to margin his business, to tighten that belt, so then that way when the opportunity did present itself, he could run, right? A lot of, you know, and I love the fact that most of us on this call is not the case. A lot of realtors out there, they don't have an idea on what a P&L looks like, a profit and loss statement. They don't know what their expenses look like. This is one of the things that we're going to be focusing in on is in the wealth building series, which we will keep going. We're going to be bringing in those to do a P&L and show us how to do it and how to dive into it and what we can cut. So really protecting your margin. So here's what's interesting. We're all on an even playing ground, right? No matter what the company at the moment is all. Now, what you're going to find in the next few coming weeks here is that, and it's already started, you'll see where there's certain companies drop out and other companies accelerate. So when the shift happens initially, everyone gets hit equally. The market doesn't discriminate. So all boats float lower. One of the things that we talked about last week was the rising tide, right? All boats float with a rising tide. Well, when the tide goes out, who's still floating? That's expense management right there. And that's when it ties into the market. One of the conversations talks about is being brutal and really being brutal. Go back to every utility bill, everything that you have, business, personal, and negotiate. They're open to negotiation. There was a staggering number, and I'm not saying this to scare anyone, but did you know that 2.3 million Americans filed for unemployment in the last 3 weeks? 2.3 million. This is really important to know, and I'm not saying it to scare anyone, and I really am not. This is knowledge, though, and it's really important that we understand that because what's happening out there, you know, outside of our walls. Okay, so when we look at, just kind of got on my little right there, but I think that's an important fact to know, right? Watch the unemployment numbers going on. When we look at fixed expenses are always agreements that usually fall into categories of car payment, rent, leases, advertising, phones, salary. Here you're best served by thinking of ways to turn a fixed expense into a variable expense. So analyze that. Do you have fixed expenses that you could turn into variable expenses? Can you lengthen the term on those expenses, right? So that no matter what, it's even, we talked about this before with Keller Mortgage on Monday. The reason why Keller Mortgage is so powerful right now is because it's zero cost. So there's homeowners out there that need to refi, and the reason they need to refi isn't necessarily to save on their monthly payment, it's to get a 2-month break. So that could be an opportunity, you know, for our clients, maybe even for you. Get your money smart again. So your money was once smart. It was invested each day based on past successful results. So it was predictively productive each time it was spent. It was called smart money. When the market shifts, your money instantly becomes dumb. What worked no longer works. So what it was spent on doesn't yield the same results. It's dumb money. It's often said that insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. How many of us have heard that one, right? I'm sure I've said that a couple million times. And it's true. If we keep pressing against the wall and we're not making any progress and we're not willing to change anything, and in this topic would be changing expenses, how are we going to bust through that barrier? What happens is called E to P, and eventually there's a resignation that happens if we don't punch through. So really that could be an opportunity to look at and say, hey, am I running into a wall? Is there something, is our goals or whatever that's looking like, am I running to a wall where if I could remargin my expenses, remargin my business, right? Look at a 40, 50, 60% profit margin and structure that on how we can do that. We have agents that are realtors that are awesome, that are in our walls that are doing it right now, right? Mark Bauer is one of them. So are we leaning on someone who is currently doing this and saying, Mark, gosh, what are you doing? Because the market's changing and I need to change right now. Is this resonating, or how are you guys doing? We went from smiles to like really serious looks on our face. So, you know, we have 7 minutes left. Let's take a little break here and just unpack some of this. So what are you hearing? What are some of the ahas that you're hearing right now?
Well, I'm hearing you say to dig deeper into what we're actually spending because it's there. And we just really, really have to look at what that is. I've suspended a lot of things that I did, Boomerang, those kind of things, because it's really not useful right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to dig deeper to see what else. While we're doing this, a lot of us aren't using eEdge anymore, but we're still billed for that on a monthly basis. Is that something that we can have taken off if we no longer use that system?
It's a fantastic question, Danielle, and I will run that up the flagpole for you for sure. I think that's a great question, because our goal is to protect your profits.
Are you talking market leader?
eEdge, it's on our monthly bill. Because
think
now that
that's
we
just-
moved from Edge to Command.
Yeah, but I think that's just the, I think that's just what the label is for the technology. So
Okay.
it's more than eEdge. I think that's just the label that's there. We'll double check though.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely. That's a
Jody's
good
shaking her
point.
head, yes.
What's another one? Thank you for that.
Yeah, you guys, hey, sorry, it's Amber. Yeah, that eEdge fee is just the name of one of the technology bills that we pay out. MCAs have requested to have that changed, but it's over 1,000 market centers that would have to make that particular change. So it isn't for that particular product. There's just two portions of technology you pay on that monthly bill, and that's how they're delineated out.
Okay, makes sense.
And Amber, where'd you even come from? I'm like looking around.
I know, I'm
Feeling.
scrolling. I'm eating lunch, so I'm technically not here.
She's iPhone.
Awesome. So what are some other ahas that you're, what are you taking in? How are you feeling? What are your ahas? What are you hearing?
I think that a lot of times when I think of cutting costs, I think of it as it's forever. And so I like, Danielle, kind of like what you've been saying, what, just for 3 months, what can you get rid of? You know, I've had Land Voice, I'm actually looking at it right now, forever. I don't use it to its full capacity. Could I pause it for 90 days? Is it really going to make a big difference for 90 days? The other thing, and this is not business as much, but just to help whoever's out there, we have USAA and have 3 different accounts with them that just all I did was call and ask. It's on a 90-day hold with no penalties whatsoever. That was over $1,000 of expenses of ours, a car loan, a boat loan. I mean, nothing. It's just, so even though it's not business for us, those 90 days, I am the only breadwinner right now. And every, you know, I have $5 million of business that just came to a screeching halt. So thinking outside of the box and just not thinking it's not for the next 12 months, just what can we do for 90 days, then reassess at the end of that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You know, one thought, and it just came to my mind, is as I was thinking about just transactional based and cost of sales, how many of us charge administrative fees with our listings or with our buyers? So do we, no?
I do on my listings.
Okay. How many of
I
us
do
have a
on my
transaction
listings.
coordinator that we pay? The per file, right? Are we charging that to the clients or are we absorbing it?
To the client.
Absorbing it.
Okay, so both ways. Okay. So think about it this way. What is our primary when we're talking with a buyer or a seller, our primary skill set is going to be on negotiations, finding the business, negotiations, income producing activities, right? So if that's where the focus is at, and I have a transaction coordinator and I'm absorbing that cost every month, and let's say I'm doing 4 deals at $300 a piece, right? So that's $1,200 a month that I'm spending. Now times that 1,200 by 12, right? What's that number? Yeah, Rhonda, I can't hear you, but I was watching you. So yeah, exactly. So if you're thinking about it that way, could that be savings that you could have in your business?
Yep.
Could I save $1,200 a month? $1,200 a month at 3 deals, $400 a piece, or 4 deals, 300, whatever, however we want to skin it. $1,200 a month that I could be reinvesting into my business. Can I give you a secret? I used to fight against this all the time. All the time. Internally, I would fight against it. When I finally started doing it, now granted, here's the deal. I didn't just add a fee to each transaction at all. I had a list of what they did specifically. So it's not just adding as another additional income source. And my clients never had an issue paying it. In fact, we even put in with every single listing a cancellation fee, and it was $500. Because I had already gone out, I'd done pictures, I'd done all of those different pieces. In a shifting market, you have to insulate your business and be prepared to, if we gotta, hunker down for a little bit while we're going through this shift, where are you going to be able to continue to have, if you have a listing come off the market, did we put a clause in there? If we didn't, this might be a fantastic time to do that, right? On a buyer side, it's a little tougher. And from the listing side, cancellation and an admin fee. All buyer and seller contracts on our team had admin fees attached to it. So think about that as we're getting ready to wrap up here. Think about different ways that you can not only cut expenses, right? Cut the expenses, tighten the belt, really dive into the technology that you have and the things that you're paying to run your business right now. And if you are able to re-leverage that out, or where the client is actually going, they'll pay it. They really will. I never had pushback on it. In fact, I had a listing that came off the market in the middle of, when we were smack in the middle of the shift, and they wrote the check out before I even asked for it. So it's an integrity piece, right? So the key around that is when you make a clause in those agreements is to put a spot to initial right by there. And you could even do something that says, hey, if we have 20 showings, we're going to do a price reduction of X, right? If we have 10 showings or however that needs to look, obviously the environment's changed a little bit. What we're going to talk about next week here on Monday is going to be tactic number 3 is do more with less. So it ties into expense management, ties into the mindset that we started, and it's going to be about leverage, different opportunities, ways that you can save around that, and ways you can protect your time. Because that's one of the best things that we have right now is the opportunity to have time with our family. I feel like I'm Michael Keaton and Mr. Mom right now. So, and truly, I mean, I'm not the only one, right? Like we're all have all kinds of different fun opportunities that have presented themselves. Now, how do we leverage that out? That's why Monday's topic is so important. Any ahas before we close?
I think that this situation with us all being stuck at home kind of puts us into a little bit of a mode of spending less just by default. I mean, I'm not meeting people for coffees. I'm not going out and, meeting past clients for dinners and all of this other stuff. So by default, you're saving money now, but in a couple of months, could you continue your business as it is now? Could I do more virtual coffees? Could I do that and maintain that just spending less kind of situation that's going on right now? So
that's a great aha. Thank you for that. So I have one request for everyone. Yeah, absolutely, Jody.
Jamie, that makes me think too of, it's the red light, green light in MREA too. if we don't have it in a budget, we shouldn't be doing it anyway. And I think it's easy to just keep, going ahead. So it gives us a line in the sand to restart. I mean, I'm totally guilty of it. So I'm saying, thank you for saying that, because out of each closing, we should say, okay, I've got, $200 in my coffee fund. And when it's gone, it's gone. Or my socializing with clients, or my, referral gifts, or whatever it is. If it's not there, it's not there. And if we live life like that all the time, when we come into times like this, we're going to be further ahead, not scrambling to keep our head above water.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's a lot of, I do budget a certain amount for things like that, the face-to-face, the coffees, the meals, but I'm also very guilty of spontaneously saying, oh, hey, we're all home, let's go meet for whatever. And then it's just extra that you're spending that you hadn't planned to. And right now, this situation prevents us from doing that. So it's just another thing to kind of look at once this is all over.
So one thing I'd look at is over this weekend, take out your expenses. Take a really hard look. Sometimes it's painful to look at it. And I can promise you that it's massively rewarding on the other side. So the best time to do this was yesterday. The second best time is today. Don't wait until tomorrow, next week, next month before we start really analyzing what expenses you have and start cutting those back. Because in some instances, the market does not forgive. So I have one request for everyone on the call. The next week on Monday, bring a friend. Bring a friend with you. It's leveraging, right? Someone who's in real estate with you that you really enjoy, in our office, out of our office. Let's spread the word on this, because truly one of the biggest things that's going on right now is a lot of confusion and a lot of non-communication. So let's change that. And I believe very, very strongly, especially with all of you, that we can do that. We can make a massive, massive impact here over the next weeks and possibly months. So I appreciate all of you being on the call. And please bring a friend next week. Let's keep spreading this and keep growing out these classes. All right. So thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.
Guys.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you.
You're welcome.